Hey, so I've been thinking about something recently with the definition and the thoughts around expat versus immigrant. So, in my case, I have lived outside of the United States for a good part of a decade. I lived in Spain for a chunk of time, and then I lived in Brazil for a chunk of time. And within all of that, I was never called an immigrant, though I was someone who was living outside of my home country and living in that place permanently for it ended up being for a period of time. But I was called an expat. And when I think about the definition of expat and immigrant, they feel kind of like the similar thing, but an idea of expat is someone who leaves their country kind of by choice, like for fun. I feel like people that are expats that make their content, which are amazing and important and incredible, but most of the time they left because they had the financial ability to do so, or they had the higher level of education so that they could get a higher level job in a different country, or they just wanted to like retire in that place. Like whatever it might be, the idea of an expat is someone who kind of like just chose to leave. And when you think of an immigrant, it's someone who had to leave their country. And these are not solid definitions, and everybody will think about it differently, but we know that the connotation of expat is like, ooh, wow, amazing, fascinating. Wow, you live in a different country. Wow, you do all these things because you're an expat. But if you're an immigrant, we know what our country thinks about the word immigrant. We know the different connotations and the judgments and the prejudice that come with the word immigrant, and it breaks my heart. Because, like, right there, goosebumps. It breaks my heart because when we think about immigrant, I think about someone who had to leave their country for whatever reason. Maybe from the US messing up their own country, and so they have to go to a different place because they're no longer able to live a quality of life that everyone deserves. And if you look at generations past, all of my ancestors are immigrants to the United States. I have a variety, but I have two main lines, Irish and German, and they both came here in the 1800s as immigrants. And I imagine that each individual family has their own reason, but a lot of the time it wasn't just for giggles. It wasn't just to be an expat, try something new. It was because they needed a better life, to get away from something or to go towards something. But the act of permanently leaving your home country to live in another one by choice or not by choice is a courageous, inspiring, heartbreaking experience. And I want you to think about the people that identify as expats, the people that have been praised and asked questions. Would you feel the same way if someone called you an immigrant? Because I want you to sit with the fact that we are creating this positive, wonderful idea of an expat, someone usually from the US, usually that looks like me, usually, or originally the term came from people that lived in Europe, Europeans that left their countries to go live in another country, usually a colonized country, to be able to have this like amazing life-changing experience. They both are people leaving to learn a new language or a new culture or a new country or a new terrain. But one is seen as wow, and the other is seen as well. Think about it. Because if you look like me and you're from the US, you probably have a family of immigrants. And if you look like anybody else, you probably are, unless you're indigenous to the Americas or you have lineage there. We are made of